Thank you, Lascian Corla. Deputies, I move Amendment 1 to Motion 104 to delete all words after Dail Eireann and substitute the following. That Dail Eireann acknowledges that there is a strong commitment to improved animal welfare in this sector in the programme for government. That future funding of the sector is contingent on welfare standards are being upheld on an annual basis and compliance with welfare standards in the sector will be strictly monitored. The greyhound sector is particularly challenged by COVID-19. The increase in the betting tax on all sports has gone from 1% to 2%, providing increased funding to the Exchequer. Revenue from the tax in 2019 was €95 million. The most recent economic assessment of the industry was undertaken by Jim Power Economics in November of 2017. The greyhound industry delivers a significant impact to the national economy, with 12,371 people deriving an economic benefit from the industry. Staff employed by RCE, as per its annual report for 2019, was 125 full-time staff and 112 part-time staff measured in full-time equivalents. Approximately 700 casual staff are employed at peak periods of activity with a wide geographical spread across the country. And against that background, notes that the proposed allocation from the Horse and Greyhound Fund is set to increase from €16.8 million to €19.2 million in 2021. This increase is necessary to take account of the severe impact of COVID-19 on the sporting industry and also to maintain the ongoing level of activity. RCE is fully committed to the provisions in the programme for government regarding the care and welfare of the greyhound. RCE will be required to account to the Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine for its activities in this area on an annual basis. The Greyhound Racing Act of 2019 represents the first major upgrade of the Greyhound Industry Act of 1958. RCE is focused on implementing in full the provisions of the Act as the relevant sections are commenced. A key element of new legislation is the provision for the first time for a full IT traceability system for racing greyhounds. RCE has advanced this system following a procurement process and expect to have the system operational by the year end. Statutory regulation will follow in 2021. This will provide a mechanism to ensure the racing greyhounds are properly registered and traceable throughout their lives, and that there are strong enforcement mechanisms in place to ensure that this is the case. The traceability system will ensure that important life events in the life of the racing greyhound, including birth, microchipping, registration, racing career, changes of ownership and trainer, location, export, retirement and end of life, are accurately recorded. RCE has been implementing an ambitious care and welfare programme, with the following elements being progressed. The setting up of a care fund in 2019. The funding sources are as follows: 50% of all existing sponsorships, 10% of all admissions, 10% of all restaurant packages, 5% of the net total profits. Notwithstanding the collapse of commercial revenues arising from the impact of COVID-19 and the resultant impact on care fund income, RCE is committed to increasing the spend on care and welfare as parts of its overall programme. The opening of the first care centre in Thurles in July of 2020, which will act as a halfway house between the end of a racing career and the placing of a greyhound in its forever home. The centre will allow greyhounds to be socialised and for interested parties to consider the fostering or adoption of a greyhound in such a setting. The implementation of an extensive rehoming programme, with over 1,300 greyhounds rehomed in 2020 to date, with assistance from the Irish Retired Greyhound Trust, an entity established by RCE. The introduction of a financial incentive for all domestic rehomings to encourage more rehoming in Ireland. The implementation of a foster to adopt scheme. The operation of an injuries at track financial support scheme, whereby funding is available to address injuries sustained to racing greyhounds to ensure that they can be retired from greyhound racing. The establishing of a confidential phone line emailed through which any welfare issues can be reported on a 24/7 basis. All reports are fully investigated by RCE welfare staff. The full utilisation of the exclusion order process, whereby a party can be excluded from being on a greyhound racing track. 6 such orders were issued in 2020 and a number of other investigations are pending. The updating of the Code of Practice for the care and welfare of the greyhound, which is at present on public consultation. This is provided under the Welfare of Greyhounds Act of 2011. The continuing of an intense testing regime, both at race events and throughout of competition testing. The urine sampling regime has been expanded in 2020 to also cover on a periodic basis blood sampling. Work is also underway in terms of the necessary protocols to implement further enhancement of the testing regime through their sampling. RCE implemented a COVID-19 care payment scheme during the period of suspension of racing activity from March to June of 2020. Some €998,000 was paid under the scheme to ensure that the welfare needs of the racing greyhound was met during a period when racing activity was suspended. Successive governments have acknowledged the importance of the greyhound industry and have supported it through legislation and policy initiatives. The support provided by public funds through investment in the greyhound industry has enabled Ireland to develop a reputation for excellence in greyhound racing and breeding. Funding of the greyhound industry ensures that the sector achieves its maximum potential and ensures that it contributes to economic, social and cultural development. The activity has a strong regional spread and plays a significant role in the broader economy and specifically in the rural economy. The future of the industry is dependent on a strong governance platform and on the industry having the highest standards of integrity and welfare founded on a strong regulatory system. The current COVID-19 pandemic poses particular challenges for Dail Eireann and the greyhound racing industry as a whole. The Government Plan on Resilience and Recovery, Plan for a Living with COVID-19, does not provide at any of the levels for a return to full commercial operations. This will impact significantly on the finances of RCE this year and up to the end of the time span on the plan in June 2021. It is essential in these circumstances that additional COVID-related supports are made available to RCE, reflecting costs incurred and the changes to the trading environment. According to the 2017 Power Report, the greyhound industry provides and supports considerable employment both directly and indirectly across the Irish economy. It is estimated that in 2016 the industry supported 5,058 full-time and part-time jobs in the economy. In addition, there are 7,313 active greyhound owners, and the total number of people deriving economic benefit from the sector is estimated at 12,371. Greyhound racing is an important part of the fabric of rural Ireland and traditionally has strong links to farming. However, it also enjoys a strong urban support base. The industry also contributes to poverty proofing, providing an additional income for members of the farming community in particular, and the industry and sport are open to male and female participants, with both high-profile male and female trainers currently involved in the industry. The future of the industry is dependent on a strong governance platform and on an industry having the highest standards of integrity and welfare founded on a strong regulatory system, and provisions in the Greyhound Racing Act of 2019, which came into effect on the 20th of May 2019, will make a real difference. This legislation strengthens the legal base for the industry, with a view to fortifying the integrity of the greyhound racing sector and improving provision for the greyhound traceability. The new Act will improve the governance of Dail Eireann, strengthen regulatory controls in the industry, modernise sanctions and improve integrity within the sector. It provides the industry with real tools with which it can effect fundamental change and reform. Animal welfare issues are central to this department's engagements with the greyhound sector, and funding is contingent on animal welfare measures being implemented. This department ring-fenced 10% of the funding allocation to RCE in 2020 for welfare initiatives and will implement similar criteria for funding in 2021. RCE has been implementing an ambitious care and welfare programme with a suite of measures being progressed. These include the opening of the first care centre in Thurles in July of 2020, the implementation of an extensive rehoming programme with over 1,300 greyhounds rehomed in 2020, and the introduction of a financial incentive for all domestic rehomings to encourage more rehoming in Ireland. And a key element of the new legislation is the provision for the first time for a traceability system. The greyhound industry is predominantly a rural industry with a strong urban support base, and the COVID-19 crisis has, similar to other sectors of the economy, resulted in a collapse of commercial activity in greyhound racing and a significant reduction of activity generally. Recovery of the industry will require ongoing support to aid restoration of normal levels to activity and to adequately manage the welfare issues that arise. The advent of new technologies and business models has challenged the Government to re-evaluate the funding mechanisms for the industry. As part of its overall commitment to the industry, the Government has addressed through legislation the anomaly whereby remote and online betting operators were outside the tax net. Betting tax was increased from 1% to 2% in budget 2019 and, as I said earlier, contributed 95 million to the Exchequer in 2019. The funding being provided to the greyhound racing sector helps sustain a long-standing tradition as the industry is part of the social fabric of our country. This funding underpins economic activity in what are, in many instances, less affluent regions of the country. Relieving the burden on our major urban centres and nurturing rural economies is a key priority for Government in this context, and this industry should be given recognition for its contribution to rural economic activity and employment. It is crucial that we support this sector at this critical time as it faces perils of COVID-19 and Brexit as we enter 2021, and by doing so we will help to support and protect both jobs and economic benefit derived by individuals involved in the sporting industry. And accordingly, I am seeking your support to ensure that Roshock Dail Eireann can receive the funding provided in Budget 2021, and I commend this counter motion to the House. Thank you.